Much to both of you for joining us today, and thanks for all you do to keep us safe and to maintain law and order in our country in very difficult times. You both come to us with very impressive credentials and having considered a lot of these issues at great length. Consumers have understandably demanded greater privacy protections, and tech companies have responded to this by offering very strong encryption in the services that they offer. There are now concerns regarding law enforcement's access to the data that it needs to disrupt criminal activities and secure convictions. These concerns are, of course, real and complex for reasons that you've outlined. They deserve serious thought, and it's, of course, Congress's job, it's Congress's duty to consider any appropriate solutions. But I think we should be wary of reaching first for the most blunt and sweeping type of solution. We need to be wary of precipitously adopting the wrong approach. Some have suggested that Congress should compel tech companies like Apple and Google to create a backdoor in their encryption walls through which law enforcement could gain passage if it secured an appropriate warrant. Now, that approach, the enactment of a new federal government mandate, threatens to undermine consumer choice, weaken American companies, and create a backdoor for Chinese, Russian, or perhaps other hackers from around the world. At least at this stage, we should be able to do better. So again, I thank you both for coming to talk to us about these very important questions. Now, you may be aware that last month the House overwhelmingly approved 2 amendments to an appropriations bill that would bar any agency from attempting to mandate that a tech company provide a backdoor of some kind or another. With such a clear demonstration of political opposition to mandating backdoors in mind, what alternative policy proposals have you considered by which Congress could address the so-called going dark concern?
We're not seeking a backdoor, and I understand why that makes people uncomfortable. Consumers have rightly demanded that companies be able to provide them with the kind of privacy and security that they need. What we are seeking is to be able to work with the industry such that the companies themselves will retain an ability to be able to access the information and to provide that information to us with lawful court orders. This is not the situation of the 90s, where it was discussed at that time that the government actually would retain keys and would have an ability to be able to access consumer information. What we're talking about is the individual companies, many of which are already doing this right now for their own business purposes or other security purposes, while still maintaining strong encryption. What we're asking is that public safety and national security also be one of the factors that industry considers in determining what type of encryption to use.
So you're saying that in some cases the backdoor that you would want to access through a warrant already exists. The company has the key. It uses it for its own purposes internally?
Right. There are a number of the communications companies that do retain the ability to access their customers' information, and they do that with very strong encryption. They value privacy and they value security as well. And we're able to execute warrants and court orders with those companies. It's the evolution of what they call end-to-end encryption, where the only person who has access then is the user. And in those relatively rare but critically important instances where we need to be able to get those communications, the only one who can access it is the bad guy. And that creates a very dangerous situation.
Are there companies with technologies that don't have that kind of capability? In other words, are there companies that don't have access to some devices, even for the company's own purposes, even when it's deemed to be in the interest of the company? Who don't have access to whatever is encrypted and is on the device?
There has been an evolution very recently, but there has been an evolution where, yes, some companies do not retain access either to data in motion or data at rest. And so what that means, for example, if we were to get some phones, some cell phones, it is essentially a brick to us. We can't access any of the information on that phone. And that's a problem for a number of reasons. We know pedophiles, for example, those who are exploiting children, maintain their information, maintain the photographs and records of the children that they're abusing on their phones. we can't get that information. We can't identify other victims, and we can't identify others who are abusing and exploiting children because we can't get access to that device. And we can't get it because the company no longer has access to that device.
Okay, my time's expired, but let me ask just one quick follow-up then. So as to those companies that don't have a key to the data in motion or the data at rest, either or both, what are you recommending that we do?
Well, we're recommending that you engage with the industry as we are now to work with them to be able to find a way, some technological way. And as Director Comey was saying, I too have a lot of confidence in the minds in Silicon Valley to be able to identify a way for us to be able, in those rare instances, to be able to get access to that information through them, not directly, but through them.
After Senator Feinstein, it'll be